Today's piano lesson is on Debussy's Doctor Gradus Ad Parnassum. This is a really fun piece from the Impressionist period, and it's a great piece to practice because you'll learn how to play with your fingertips in order to get it to the top speed and to get that light impressionistic sound. I'm going to teach page by page and point out some really important details in the music, and I'll also demonstrate how to practice some of the most technically challenging parts of the piece. If you'd like to know what edition is best to learn this piece from, then check the link in the description. Let's first talk about the tempo. Debussy didn't give a metronome indication, so this marking right here tells us to play moderately lively. I think that 126 for quarter notes is a really good tempo goal. So this might feel like an intimidating tempo, but you'll be surprised how fast you can play this piece after you've practiced it for a while and you're really comfortable with the notes. The first two measures are usually the most technically challenging for pianists, and this motif repeats throughout the piece. Here are some ideas that you can try to achieve a smooth, even sound. Number one is keep your hand relaxed and circle your wrist. And be really conscious about your thumb, so don't let it flop down onto the key and accent. So one thing that you can do is keep the thumb close to the keys and think about putting more weight in this part of your hand. It's also really helpful to practice in rhythms. So a great rhythm to try is this long, quick, quick, quick. That helps you to practice the wrist rotation, and also it helps you remember to keep your thumb light. Do a lot of right hand practice on places like bars 1 through 6 without the pedal so that you can really hear if you're playing evenly. I also recommend doing some metronome practice on places like bars 1 through 6 and setting it for eighth notes. This will make it easy to stay with the metronome and also to help you play steady and even. So here's 120. Notice that at bars 3 and 4 there are some portato markings in the right hand. Portatos are not as crisp as staccatos, but the notes should be played attached. The double stem notes tell us that the main rhythm is 16th notes, but we should hold the 8th notes for the full value. So if the portato markings were not there, we would hold the 8th note until we see the 8th rest. But because the portato markings are there, it's going to sound more like this. And I usually don't use any pedal here so that you can hear a nice contrasting sound. From measures 3 and 4 to 5 and 6, I use pedals starting at 5 and 6. The left hand also has a double stem note here, and so you're going to hold that C. You'll also see double stem notes in bars 5 and 6. Again, this tells us that the main rhythm is 16th notes, but the quarter notes should be held through. And the up stems also tell us where the melody is. So when you get this piece up to speed, it's difficult to hold the quarter notes, but do the best you can and focus on bringing out those melody notes. I'd like to take a quick break and remind you to hit the like button if you're getting value from this video, and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more piano lesson videos like this. Your support really helps us to reach more people, so thank you. Let's talk a little bit about pedaling. So I recommend that you keep your left foot over the soft pedal the entire piece so it's ready for the pianissimo sections like in bars 7 through 10. And at the beginning, because there's this marking here, that means even and without dryness. So I use a very light pedal. So I change on the first note of each beam. And then no pedal here. So we can hear a contrasting sound for the portatos. full pedal here. And here, put your soft pedal on. I'm barely pushing the pedal here so that the damper pedal so that we can still have clarity with the notes. And I'm changing on the first note of each measure here so that we can hold that whole note all the way through the measure. And I come off the soft pedal for measure 11 and crescendo to there. And that measure is just an E major chord. On bars 13 through 16, I wouldn't use any damper pedal because of the portato markings. And then I would add it back in at measures 17 and 19 for the tenuto notes. That'll give us a little bit of contrasting sound and then emphasis on the tenuto notes. And then here you'll slow a little bit and return back to your beginning tempo at bar 22. This section is a bit complicated. There's a lot of details to pay attention to. Notice the tenuto markings and the treble clef. So we want to bring out those melody notes. Then notice that they changed to quarter notes here. So try to hold the quarter notes a little longer than the 8th note tenutos. There's also a whole note in bar 24 that you want to try to hold through the measure. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to do something tricky with your pedal. So hold the pedal down, then just do a half pedal change so that you get a little bit of clarity, but we're still hearing the E through. Then you can start to do full pedal changes, change, change, change. And the dynamics are challenging too. So crescendo to that C sharp. On bars 27 through 31, only change the damper pedal on the first note of each measure so that that whole note can be sustained through. And make sure to do a different articulation on these portatos versus the slurs. And this tends to be a really tricky area for evenness. So a good tip is to take some of these notes with your right hand. So right hand, then left hand. So right, left, right, right, left. And here, this means to play expressive with emotion. Two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then very soft. Bring out your left hand melody here. Then off the soft pedal. Notice that there is this tie, and you can change at bar 41 and 42 while you're holding that whole note. Then keep the pedal down, keep it down. Most of this page is a repeat of the first page, but it should be played softer because of the pianissimo markings. So I use soft pedal on bars 44, 45 through 54. And this means to gradually get faster. So accelerate gradually until bar 67, where you see this marking, which means very lively, and then maintain the faster tempo to the end. This is a great place to do some rhythm practice. So that long, quick, quick, quick. And that's an A flat augmented chord. So that's a nice pattern to notice. And then that same rhythm practice is helpful here too. And practice the left hand alone. Work on connecting the notes and bringing out the tenuto notes, the melody. On this page, I want to encourage you to do noticeable dynamics to make it really exciting. Here at 67, it says very lively. So at the top, you'll see this decrescendo and then a sudden forte. And then here, you're going to crescendo on those fortes, and then it's a sudden drop to mezzo forte and crescendo again. And then here, make sure that you crescendo to the highest note and really emphasize the highest note. So you're doing... And then these markings here from 68 to the end, those are called martellato markings, and they're really strong accents. So make sure you're using the weight of your arm to get that heavy sound. 1, 2, 3, can count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the loudest part of the piece, is the fortissimo at the end, so you can be pretty heavy there. We have a lot of great piano lesson videos on our channel, so I hope you'll click here and watch the next one.